What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Dropping Wisdom with Santos. And today is episode 160, and I'm on location with a new guest. Please introduce yourself and tell us what it's going to be about today.
I'm Captain Johnny Savage. I'm here in Rudy Inlet, Virginia, and we're going to talk a little bit about fishing and just some other stuff in life.
Yeah. Okay. Now, Real Slick Fishing. This is a fishing charter boat. You're the captain of
This is a private boat.
private boat. Okay. So do you ever take any guests out on this one?
Yeah, it's mainly geared towards taking the owner, his family, and his friends out fishing, and also have some connections of people that have been in the military. And typically on a trip, we'll have somebody that may have been from the command, or we've had guys out that were in the 160th. And it's really unique for us to be able to see them at peace out there. So it's a way for them.
As long as weather permits.
Yeah. As long as if it's rough, we aren't going.
Yeah. So how do you plan? Like, obviously, when you wake up, you obviously check the weather before. You be like, hey man, it ain't gonna be good, or hey, it might get a little rough in a few hours. So how do you say yay or nay on a trip?
So that's a great question. Of course, we have all these apps that we use that are show the different currents, different wind patterns. Like windy's one of them. There's several others, but really, one of the things I use kind of like is a good indicator is the temperature. In this area, if you think about it, if you got high temperatures, you're typically going to have a southwest wind, a stronger southern wind. You see like a 10 degree, 20 degree temperature drop. 20 degree, yeah, you probably aren't going to go fishing. It's because something's causing. There's going to be some kind of front, or low or high, that's going to make that wind blow for that change. So that's one of the first things I look at, and also I'll look at the NOAA forecast, and then kind of put all those together to.
Yeah, because I know when I was in the Coast Guard, we used to read off a lot of the things we used to read off of the buoy reports through NOAA. That's how
that'll give us an idea of what's going on out there. At that particular, that's more towards maybe the morning, but we're also looking at the wave height and period from those buoys, and there's times where you'll see 20-foot seas on the report for a wave height, but you got super long. You got like a 12-second period or whatever it is, and so that's a big groundswell. So for us, it's slick calm. But when we're out there fishing, there's ships, and you just see the ships going like this because one of the things unique with as far as the boats when we're running in, of course, typically that swell's coming towards the coast, so we're running up and down them. And there's some days when especially if there's a hurricane that's pretty high number hurricane with a real low pressure. Those swells, we may have to even pull back on our throttles when we're coming down the wave because it'll over rev.
What fish are in season? Do you go certain seasons or certain fish in the area?
Yeah.
Tell me that.
So we have so we are at the kind of like a northern point in the Mid-Atlantic to be able to catch the Gulf Stream. Like right now, the Gulf Stream is kind of coming closer than it typically does. It's a far run for us to get to the Gulf Stream. Generally, we're looking over a 100-mile run to get there. Whereas when it comes off North Carolina, Oregon Inlet, then it kind of shoots out. This past year, it's been weird. I've never really seen the Gulf Stream come up this way as far as it has as much. But yeah, so that can kind of cause things. Me saying that is because it can cause things to fluctuate related to the fish species that we get from the fish that are coming out of the stream. Typically, we're starting off our season hopefully in May. In May, we're looking at we're kind of watching those eddies that come off the Gulf Stream and seeing where the water is for the tunas, the yellowfin tuna. And while we're catching those yellowfin tuna, we'll catch an occasional dolphin and an occasional blue marlin. And then typically it used to be that June 11th you could almost set your calendar by the bluefin tuna would come through. These are the schoolie bluefin tunas. Typically less than 100 pounds. That whole bluefin tuna fishery, I'll kind of get to that more as we go through the year, but that's all kind of changed. But they still are out there in that early summer. And then from there in July, we're starting to see more of a mix, and we're starting to catch a few more white marlin. Still catching the tunas, dolphins, and occasional wahoo. When we get to late July to August, our operation, we kind of like to try to switch gears to we're mainly focused on marlin fishing, whether it's white marlin or blue marlin. We can have great white marlin fishing out of Virginia Beach. One of the issues is we don't have a very large fleet anymore, so that's a lot of ocean to cover. Even with all the technologies that we have, it's still getting into that piece of water and seeing that is that life there, and happening to be there when they want to eat. One of the technologies that we use is what's called an omnidirectional sonar. So it's kind of cool. We get out there to where we fish, and this thing kind of goes out of the bottom. Imagine like a backwards periscope. So it comes out of the bottom of the boat, and with that, we can see out what's around us, and we can kind of pan through the water column.
And how long have you been fishing as a fisherman, captain, and all that?
Oh, shoot. I started in the 80s working on the head boats. Actually, if talking about getting paid to fish, I was 12 years old. I gill netted in the Upper Currituck Sound with my dad.
Always in Virginia, in this area?
That was in Virginia and kind of like northern part of North Carolina, northeastern North Carolina, southeastern Virginia. So I grew up in the southern end of Virginia Beach, where it's kind of like all rural, and that's one of the things that we would do is we would go out and we'd set gill nets, and we go out and just stow the fish as they came into buckets, and then we had these buckets, and we'd take them to certain areas of the neighborhood where we knew, like I remember there'd be one place where there'd be always a poker game going on Saturday. So we'd pull up there, and the guys would grab some of their money off the table and come out and buy a bucket of fish.
Hell yeah!
Yeah. So then of course my dad would always give me a little bit of money out of that. But that's where I really started, thinking about like, yeah, it's kind of cool. You can make money catching fish.
Yeah.
And then we took a family vacation to Florida, and we went on a head boat out of, I think it was Boynton Inlet, and we caught like a bonita or something like that. And I guess I told my mom, like, I want to do this one day. And sure enough, so my grandfather, who was in the Coast Guard just as you were, one of his best friends was a Norfolk police officer. And then when he retired from the police department, he had the head boats that were here at Ruby Inlet. His son and my sister went to school together, so we were at their graduation for Kellum, and I guess that would have been '84, and ran into them during the ceremony, after just when it completed, and just mentioned that I'd like to have a job working for him one day on the head boats, and he said, well, when you're old enough to drive, come on down, and that's what I did, and that's how it started. And I'm glad I started off that way. So one of the things that we have to deal with on a regular basis is problem solving when we're fishing. Not only just where they are, but just with tangles, knots, just all the different things that can happen. And really a head boat is a crash course on that. And I was in a shell when I was younger. And I wanted to make money. So if you want to make money, you better talk to people in that business. So really kind of brought me out of my shell. One of the unique things about working on head boats is it's an inspected vessel. So when you work on an inspected vessel, safety becomes a procedure.
What do you mean? Who inspects it?
Coast Guard.
Okay, yeah.
So this vessel's an uninspected vessel. So basically, the way the law kind of works is, it even goes back to the captain's license. So there's a 6-pack license, which most of your charter boats, it's a 6-pack license that captain has to have. That's the minimum. And so with that license, he can take only 6 people, paid customers, and he can have like 2 crew members and himself. If you want to take 7 people, the boat has to go through a process where it goes through a plan approvals through the Coast Guard before it's constructed.
Sorry, man.
This is a whole different. That's a different division of the Coast Guard.
No, I forgot we're on a boat. I see things moving outside. I'm like, what's going on? Sorry. Yeah, we're a little swinging a little bit. I'm like, what the hell's going on? Sorry, go ahead. I got distracted.
So there's that process, and it's things like fire stations, it's collision bulkheads, it's these things that are required for them to get their certificate for the Coast Guard to stamp and say, okay.
Yeah, you need to make sure all your safety gear and your EPIRBs and beacons are all up to date and stuff like that too, right?
Yeah, so that's when they come do their topside inspection. That's what they're doing as well. And then like height of the cockpit, just like an OSHA rule would be related to like mid rail, top rail. A little bit different, but still they have their requirements you have to fall into. And then there's certain communication requirements for safety as well. That goes through all the stuff. So anyway, so if you're going to run a boat with more than 6 people on it, basically you have to have a master's license. Just a few more questions in the 6-pack license.
Does it cost more?
I don't remember. It's been so long.
I'm assuming this is Virginia, so yeah, it's probably going to cost more.
So Yeah, so that's where I mean, and that's where I, kind of got my feet wet, and gained a love for really helping other people catch fish.
And I just want to let everyone know that this is going to be part 1 of Captain Johnny Savage's story. We're gonna ease into his book that is. It blew my mind, bro. Like we just talked about it. I didn't know it was on this level, and this deserves its own episode. I don't want to like give you talk 10, 15 minutes on this. We're gonna ease into the book, Lost in the Stream, because this book, your story is unbelievable, and I want this to be its own episode. So you're gonna have two. We're gonna talk about it a little bit, but you're gonna have part 2 of Captain Johnny Savage's story as well. Because learning how you came up and how you became a fisherman. And then this story of the miraculous story of 2 fishermen lost at sea is just, oh my God, bro. That's scary shit.
Captain and Eric and I were just the messengers of the story. Just thankful to be alive. But yeah, so then I just worked on the head boats for a number of years. Then when I was reputation is everything in this business, and I knew I wanted to make the jump to the offshore fishing.
So what's the difference between inshore and offshore?
So typically your head boats, they are going to be bottom fishing for sea bass, spot, croaker, stuff like that. And you that's a situation where it's in that time like 65 to 75 foot long boat, and you got like probably 60 people on there, and they're just dropping down to the bottom, and lots of tangles. It's just a lot of different personalities you're dealing with, but I still enjoyed it. But it's just, you aren't catching the big fish. I mean, there's not a whole lot of glory in it. And but that, again, going back, that's where I learned that I like seeing other people catch fish. I like helping people to learn to catch fish. And so when I knew I wanted to make the jump, I wanted to make the jump to the right program as far as getting onto a sport fish. There was a guy that I knew of. His name was Kenny Sexton. He worked for a guy named like a legend captain out of Oregon Inlet named Sam Stokes, and Kenny had just got his license. Actually, his girlfriend and I were going to TCC together at the same time, and she kind of said, "Hey, look, you need to talk to my boyfriend about working for him." I'm like, and so I talked to Kenny, and that's when I made the jump, and was so glad to, because he had all those skills were so fresh for him, as far as just the rigging. There's a lot that goes into a rigging, just little techniques that I still use today, and I teach my mates the same stuff that Kenny had taught me. So so then that was wonderful. Fished with him for a couple of years. Then went on to fish on a boat called the No Problem. Enjoyed fishing there. It's kind of ended up being unique because the gentleman that owned the No Problem, years later, I would run his son's boat for him. And actually, that family is kind of like the family that really had the heart-to-heart talk with me about, look, you gotta write your story.
Yeah.
Because I'd heard that for years. It was, John, you gotta write a book. You gotta write a book. I'm like, yeah, no, I'm a safety guy. That's what I went to school for, and so our stuff is technical. And I'm like, I can't write it. And then God opened the door for that to happen. But yeah, so then from there, I went onto a boat called the High Hopes, which has been a staple out of Virginia Beach for many, many, many years. I don't know if you remember seeing in the news last year that great big state record bluefin that was caught.
Yeah, I remember that.
So that was Captain Dave that caught it. So man, I was so happy to see that he got that record.
How heavy was it?
Guy. Oh shoot!
Did you go length and weight?
Yeah,
or just weight?
I can't remember the weight off the top of my head.
Okay.
Another boat had caught one close to it, just the day before, and then David had caught that one. But it crushed the old state record. I mean, I guess back in the mid 2000s, I held a record with one that was 573, and
damn,
David's fish dwarfed that fish.
You ever gotten seasick?
So that's a good question.
I've gotten seasick.
So this is when I was working for Kenny. We were going out Oregon Inlet, and like with the pressure in a boat, when it can be rough seas. That's one of the most treacherous inlets on the East Coast. We were going out, and we came off a wave, and we blew a hatch in the bow. So I had to go down into the cabin to go close that hatch. And when I was closing the hatch, we went up and went over one. So when we went up, I went airborne and went horizontal. And like on the bunks, imagine it's probably the same way on the ship. Like you have an edge board to hold the mattress in.
Yeah.
And of course, for these boats, it's probably like a strip of teak, like 1x6, and then it's screwed and epoxied and glued to the wall or to the edge of the bed, and I came down hard enough that it broke that off.
Jesus.
Yeah, and it just so happened. And once you get past the bar, it was calm. We get out there, and it was good tuna fishing that day, and and our charter happened to be a bunch of doctors, and we'd get covered up all with the tunas, and I'd run around doing my thing, and then I would just I'd pass out on the deck.
Jesus.
And it was a concussion that
Yeah.
I had from that impact, and that shook me. So I battled with seasickness for a little bit after that.
I got seasick a lot on the Coast Guard. I think it was because our first days, like we're going through Hatteras.
Okay.
It's one time I was throwing up so much, man. I was throwing up stomach acid, and I busted a vessel in my eyeball.
Oh man.
I was fucking
That wasn't-
struggling, bro. I was struggling, but yeah, that's my seasick, bro. I just came from Fayetteville onto a boat, and we're lowering the RHI on the fantail of a Coast Guard cutter forward.
Okay.
And next thing I know, something hits me hard as fuck in my head. And I thought somebody threw something at me. And so we're out there in the Caribbean. I was ready to fight. That's how hard it hit me. I was staggered, and I was like, who the fuck threw that? Because we're about to throw down. And when everyone was looking at me like I was an idiot, I was like, bro, you got hit by a flying fish. I'm like, what are you talking about? I was like, look, you see this, a school of fish. Whoosh, whoosh. And I got one of them flew over the fantail and cracked me in my head, bro. And you see this fish has wings. I didn't know a fish could fly.
Yeah.
This was back in 1995, bro. So I'm like, what the fuck? A flying fish? It cracked the shit out of me, man.
Yeah, when we do our crossings at nighttime, where they're going to Bermuda, going to Mexico, wherever it is, in the morning, because I guess at night when they take off, when the boat would run by, they would lose bearing and turn around and just do a nosedive in the cockpit. So you walk around and throw them out in the morning.
It's crazy.
Or
There's so many things blew my mind because I didn't know anything about the ocean. I didn't know that when the ocean hits the hull, when it ripples away, it has that fluorescent color.
Yeah, the phospholuminescence.
Yeah, I didn't know about it. What the hell is going on? I had no idea, bro. I had no clue.
Isn't it?
Yeah, it's beautiful. And then I shit my pants one time because I seen a tornado. But they're like, oh, that's a water sprout. I'm like, man, that's a tornado, bro. You know what I'm saying?
I love it.
But what's your favorite seafood to eat?
My favorite to eat? Whew, that's a good question. As far as fish goes, probably hog snapper.
Hog snapper?
Mm-hmm. You catch those more like in the Caribbean.
Because I know in the Bahamas, we caught, I guess it's red snapper. Is that different than hog snapper?
They're all in the snapper family.
Okay.
Hog snappers, I think, is a little bit better than red snapper. But wahoo, I like wahoo. These bluefins that we catch out of here in the wintertime, like for sushi.
I never had that, man. I like grouper. I do like grouper and rockfish. Well, I don't know, man. I don't eat a lot of fish because my wife is allergic to seafood, so I try to limit my intake. But I do like a good ceviche.
Okay.
So I like to marinate some. Because one time I was in the Bahamas and my buddy was teaching me how to line fish. And the first catch, I swear to God, less than 5 minutes, I caught a strawberry grouper. It was like a little baby one, but it was enough for a ceviche. Delicious. But what was your favorite catch?
My favorite catch. Okay. So, personally, you think it'd probably be, I've caught some pretty daggone big blue marlin in my lifetime. But personal fish that I reeled in was a bonefish in the Bahamas.
Bonefish?
Yep. So it was, bonefish are like, when you're bonefishing, it's like stalking trophy bucks that are really smart. They've been hunted hard. They're just an amazing fish that, they live on the flats. So they're used to birds flying around. They're used to predators after them all the time. So they stay on high alert. But this fish was 27.5 inches long, 13 and a half inch girth on a 5-weight fly rod. So that's a pretty light fly rod. The cool thing was the fly was tied by a friend of mine that I caught it on, and so that just made that a unique. And the fish got way back, and I was on the beach, so it's not like I was in a boat where you could pole or track the fish. No, I mean I had to run out in the water and was down, almost took all the line off the reel. And that was just a challenging fight. But yeah, we've caught,
I have a question. Like when they weigh fish, like for a competition, do they inspect the fish?
Yes.
Like to make sure the fish is.
They're checking those fish out.
I mean, because I'm like, well, what if a fish just ate another fish? Isn't that add extra weight? Does that matter? That's legit.
That's nature.
Okay, all right. Because I'm like, man, I hope you catch a fish that's ate a fish. That kind of hooks up the weight for you. But you want to make sure that they didn't like compromise the fish in any way. Is that what you mean?
Okay, so you mean not only do they inspect the fish, so that's one of the things. Like when you see, like if you were to watch Big Rock, for example, when those fish come into the scales and those people are getting on the boat. Same thing with Ocean City. If it's a kill tournament, and now kill tournament doesn't mean you kill all of them, but basically they set a standard for the size of fish that can be brought to the dock to weigh, which is going to be kind of in the upper range for the species.
Mm-hmm.
So that way you don't have 100 blue marlins laying on the dock. So when the fish comes in, first they're looking at the condition of the fish itself. So there's a lot of rules that apply to just tournament fishing in general. So the fish gets a say in what happens for sure. They're checking leader links, all this other stuff that goes into it. But as far as the fish, they're looking for damage. So there's been some hype recently related to a fish that's attacked by a shark at the boat. Well, you know what? Tough luck, buddy.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't control that.
Yeah.
But your bicep. Of course, you got several muscles in there that make up your bicep. If I pull out one of those muscles, are you going to be able to lift and do the things you can normally do?
No.
Or if you get in a fight, are you going to be a fight the way you normally fight?
That's when this one already I have a torn left bicep, so I know for a fact I don't have the same strength and range and stuff like that.
So it's the same thing. If a shark comes up and takes a chunk out of a fish, that fish can't fight the way it was meant to fight. So it's crippled basically.
Oh,
so
gotcha.
The fair catch part is gone.
I got you.
And then the other part of it is so when we're bill fishing, when we hook a fish, especially a blue marlin, we'll go a little bit quicker on it. But say it's a white marlin, we hook one. I'm going to turn to whatever side that fish is, and we're going to circle that fish and try to hook more.
What do you mean circle the boat?
The boat will circle the fish.
So while you're fishing, there's a captain that while you're fishing is maneuvering the boat while you're fishing with the fish.
When they hook a fish, whatever side that is, I'm turning the boat typically to that side unless I see the fish on somewhere else. And then that way I'm turning the boat and I'm circling that fish, hoping to pick up other fish that are around that fish.
Oh, wow. Okay, because I was about to ask you that when you're fishing,
there's
different strategies. Like if you feel like the fish pulls or goes a certain way, how do you adjust your fishing strategy? Is there a strategy to fishing? You just don't reel.
Yeah, there is. If the fish is up high, it's about keeping tension on the fish. That's what it's all about.
And I was talking to Bruno last episode. I was like, I would love to go, man, because of my left bicep, I have no stamina in this left arm to do anything. I was like, in like 10 seconds, I'm like, man, I'd love to do it, but I can't. I'm disabled out there, man. I really am. But that's why I know your strength and stamina has to be elite, in my opinion.
You think so? You know who some of the best anglers are? Women.
What?
Yep.
I didn't know that. How?
They listen.
Oh, they listen to the captain fish?
Well, yeah. And so as it's going, I'm giving instruction, but that's the square end of the boat. I'll let the mate handle that. Unless something happens, I need to step in, and he's down there and he's coaching that angler on what to do.
So, and guys are too knucklehead and they have egos. They're going to do their thing. I got strength. I'm strong. Shut up.
I've taken professional football players out there fishing, and they're shot just like that because they'll take and they'll like tighten every single muscle up in their body, and they'll blow themselves out.
Yeah.
So, guess what was it?
That's what I'm saying. So how can you teach someone to know how to pace themselves while fishing?
Just talking through it.
Okay.
Yeah. And it depends on is this a stand-up fight? The chair fight. So when the fight goes to the chair, typically that's going to be on a bigger rod, and so we have a safety line that goes from the rod to the base of the chair, and then there's a thing called a bucking harness that they sit in. It's kind of like just like a little seat thing, and there's lines on that clip to the top of the reel. So once that's done, they don't have to worry about holding the rod.
Okay.
That bucking harness carries the weight.
Okay.
So, in theory, the way it's supposed to work is, so there's a footrest. If they release pressure with their legs, it's going to pull them forward. As they go forward, they reel. Then they push back with their legs.
Okay.
And that pulls the rod up. So that would be more the pumping aspect.
And all they're doing all this sober?
Well, we hope so. Not always. Doesn't always work out that way.
Maybe a few beers in's okay.
But usually afterwards, there you go.
Yeah.
Dunkaroo or something. But so when and it depends. That's if the fish is down. When the fish is up, So with the billfish, going back to what we're talking about, it'll get to a point where I'll say, all right, clear the spread. And what we're doing is we're bringing the lines in. The lines are in the outriggers. We're letting them hang if we can, preferred, and because it gets us fishing sooner. And then I'm chasing the boat backwards with the fish.
Now, do you like
to the fish?
Do you brief your the people on the boat know how to like? If you're telling me that, I don't know that terminology. Every time I said, "What the hell does that mean? What are you talking about?"
Yeah, well, yeah, we
brief us.
We have a little brief. I
say like, what do you mean?
Because otherwise, everybody will be. If I forget to do it, and there's a new person on the boat, then they're just standing like,
I'm just here for a pina colada, bro.
Yeah.
Have you ever had like like a big fish that was super really crazy, and you had like a beat it with the club or something?
I'll tell you what we had. So, this is when I was running a boat for a gentleman named Frank Pahenka. His family has car dealerships up. Like when you go up to Northern Virginia, the Pahenka dealerships you see. Mm-hmm. So, and the boat was called Just One More. And I had this was I mean, I've had some pretty close calls to myself, but this is one of the ones related to somebody else. So I was backing on a white marlin. And so the fish was being fought from the stern, and then you came forward, and there was what's called a mezzanine, which is then it's kind of like a little step, and then it goes up to like the platform that you see back there. She was sitting on that bottom step, and I kind of noticed the line got slack in a weird way. So from the perspective of the bridge, looking down, we could see the back corners up to about where the fighting chair is. And when I saw that fish come in, the fish jumped in, went down, and just that weird slack, and the fish jumped in the boat. So she's sitting there with her camera, and it jumped across her lap. And
what kind of fish was it?
White marlin. So obviously it's got that basically that spear.
Holy shit!
Yeah, that was the first words out of my mouth. Is everybody okay?
Shit. Oh my god, that's scary, man.
Yeah.
How big are those things? Those are heavy.
So that fish was probably I don't know, maybe 50 pounds, something like that.
Oh,
but
okay.
Still, I mean, it was a big. I mean,
yeah.
Lengthwise, it's pretty big.
Holy moly!
But yeah, that's the thing. Every time
it's scary because you're not expecting it.
Yeah, you're not. You know that can happen, but the day it does happen, it's like holy smokes when one jumps in the boat. So even to this day, especially with blue marlin, when as soon as we hook one and it's tight, I always take a second to say a little prayer, for the protection of my mate.
Yeah.
Because you got to think about it. I mean, when we're catching these fish and we're backing down, I mean, we'll fly backwards with these. I mean, I'll crank. There's times when sometimes our turbos are engaging when we're going backwards. That's how hard we're going.
Holy moly!
Yeah, and we shut the door. But safety is the primary thing. We're thinking about the deck below the cockpit and the lazarette, and monitoring that for any kind of bilge pump to kick on. But they build these boats for that, so that most of them are pretty sealed when it comes to the.
And while everyone's doing this, do they all have their life preservers on?
No, not
no.
And so then we're seeing. So that's one of my fears is that when the mate gets the leader. So you're talking. So these leaders are basically like we eat your line, and you're wrapping. Their mate's wrapping it up with his hand to pull that fish closer.
Yeah.
And just my fear is like something will happen. And
is he using gloves or anything?
Yeah, they'll wear gloves.
Okay.
But that's the other thing too, doing it right. Like I got on some mates too because you could have got killed. I remember one day I was out there, a friend of mine came across the radio, blue marlin, pulled him over, never saw him again.
What? He couldn't just let go?
The fish pulled him down.
Let go of the fishing pole.
No. Well, so that's the thing. So I mean, when those fish run, you aren't gonna stop them. And the fish took a deep run, and they couldn't stop it.
I'm confused. But when he jumped over, couldn't he just let go of the?
No, he was caught up in the leader.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh my God. That's terrible way to die, just in general.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that's scary, man. That's some scary shit.
Yeah. So they're the things that. So I'm part of this group called Valhalla's Mission Force. It's kind of weird,
Yeah, bring that up, man. What is Valhalla's Mission Force about?
We do knife builds, mainly with police, first responders, military, and it's pretty cool. So it's not about building a knife; it's about building champions. So it's kind of off right now because we're in the process of rebuilding. So the gentleman that started, his name is Jimmy Hinsky. He's friends with Bruno. They know each other very well, work together. Jimmy's was from Dam Neck. And when when he left the teams, when he finally went ahead and retired, he started doing woodworking. So a lot of times when you would see, like there's restaurants, sometimes you'll see a paddle in there, and you can obviously tell it's related to the teams. There's a good chance it came from Jimmy's shop, which was Valhalla's Forge. So that was the side of the business that did the commission builds. Like for example, like the box that holds the weapon that killed Bin Laden, he built that. Did a lot of things for there's different government agencies.
So the Valhalla's Mission Force, do they just not only make the knife, but can they forge it and show you and help you make it?
It's because it's not about the knife; it's about building the champions. So the Valhalla's Forge, which has kind of been separated now, and Jimmy has moved to Colorado, and we're going to get the Mission Force going again here. But the Mission Force is more the nonprofit side. So it's two parts of it. One is Flags for the Fallen, and that comes from Jimmy's time with the teams, and kind of unfortunately in a way they knew how to handle the loss of a brother and dealing with the family, and in ways to get them like different things. So he saw a gap in that with maybe some of the smaller police departments, and so that's why he started Flags for the Fallen. So we have artifacts that Bill Gates couldn't get. We have hundreds of artifacts, and these shot glasses we have here on the boat. So there's sand from Iwo Jima in this one. This one has part of the USS Constitution in it.
Wow.
This has Omaha Beach, and this one has sand in it from the hot gates of Thermopylae, where the 300 Spartans took the stand.
What? Let me see that one.
Yeah, so Team 2 have brought that sand back to the shop. But then we have man, it's crazy, U-2 spy plane.
That's crazy, man.
We have part of Super 64, which you've seen Black Hawk Down. That was Durant's bird. Part of Extortion 17, which was the largest loss of SEALs in history when Chinook got shot down. And of course, that's what Bruno flew, was a 47, was a Chinook. And then we have even had sand from Operation Neptune Spear from the QRF. And so we have all these artifacts for people to choose from to put into their knife. And the way the process starts, it starts off, everybody, when they come in, we get set up around the table, and everybody kind of tells where they're from. Like you'd share, like you were in the Coast Guard, and maybe a little bit, a little bit about yourself, family, whatever it is. And then everybody's going, and so we're getting an idea of what we have in the building related to years of experience, where you've been, and you watch the bond start to happen. Like, oh yeah, I was stationed there. Oh yeah, my dad was stationed there. Well, there's the connection is starting. So then it goes into the next phase of it, which is the box speech, and so basically Jimmy would he has this box, then it's kind of funny. It's like his big note card, and on the box are different things, but on the top of the box, it's kind of got like the basic rules of the box, which are, we all get a box, and we have a choice what goes in that box. And as he's doing the speech, he kind of based it off what he says from a speech that he heard from Admiral Olson. But ultimately, the box goes back to Damnek, where, and his kind of analogy is let's say you're a politician, you're high brass, and you want to look good. Who do you give the job to? You give the job to the National Mission Force, the guys that get it done, right? Mm-hmm. So sometimes they may get a mission and they would get that mission, and basically the mission wouldn't fit in the box. And they realized if it didn't fit in the box, there was too great of a risk for either mission failure or somebody doesn't come home. So all right, we got to take something out of this to make it go into the box. But the key is, and this is a metaphor for life. Whether it's family, whether it's work, whether it's yourself, or whatever it is, we all have that box. And so as he's going through this, he's talking about, taking care of yourself. He's talking about what it takes to be, on a high-performing team. And he's going through all these different dynamics that are on the box. Are you watching too much YouTube? Are you on Instagram too much? Whatever it is in your life that maybe you need to kind of cut that down a little bit so that you can be that champion that you were designed to be. And he always touches on faith a little bit. I mean, because he was involved with some pretty serious operations, and he always says, I don't know how you can do, referring to what he was doing, I don't know how you can do this job without having faith, and then from there we break out into stations. So one station, they're putting an artifact. Now people bring their own artifacts in as well. They're putting an artifact in the knife and the shields, and they're sealing it in there. Another station is they're doing some sanding on the knife. Another station is they're building the Kydex case that it's going to go into. And I always like working that kind of like the Kydex station. There's a police officer that was with the city for, he's retired now. His name is Scott. He's the one that got me involved with it. But we would kind of like work the Kydex station together, because one of the unique things about the Kydex station is it takes time we just have hot plates and we're heating it up. That gives us time. So as we're there, number one, we're in the building, and you know, I told you about all these artifacts. They're cool, but the greatest thing we have is trust. And if you're part of that team, kind of like the trust thing has been a little bit established, because you know, trust with those guys is pretty daggone important. And anyway, it gives me a chance. I'm going to open up. I'm going to share something with you. I'm going to try to crack that shell a little bit to make you know it's okay. It's okay for you to talk. It's okay for you to share something with me, because I'm going to tell you something intimate about myself, maybe some stuff, something I went through, whatever it is. And then from there, we continue to build. Everybody's kind of rotating through. And then at lunchtime, typically it would be either we'd have pizza or Mission Barbecue was great about doing events, and so they come in and bring some stuff, bring the food in. And then from there, that's when I would share the story that's in the book. And
now let's flow into what the
let me go ahead and finish this part about
okay.
about, because I haven't got to the best part yet.
Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
So I share that story, and then and I've heard some amazing things from people afterwards. Like I've had guys that some badass dudes that have been like, "Hey John, let me tell you about what happened on this op." But I remember one, and I've mentioned this before in other podcasts, and he told me it was okay to share it. I just don't say anything related to names, but he was a Night Stalker, and he was on the ground in a firefight. And I'm thinking, man, if you're on the ground in a firefight, that's probably not good. And he's like, during this firefight, he realized he was overrun. Like, that's it, I'm done. They got me. And then he said he heard a voice that said, "I'm gonna get you out of this." And sure enough. So yeah, just the number of stories I heard like that were amazing. But anyway, so then after we finished that part, then we go back into finishing the build. And then it's the greatest part. You know, we've had some pretty amazing people in there. And there isn't a time where somebody doesn't break down, because it's a safe place for them to do that. So in this part is when they go around and they share the story of their knife, the ethos that's on the knife. You know, this knife is something that's being made to be passed down for generations. I mean, we even put grooves into the to the shields so that, you know, your hand falls in it. And one of the unique things, so I have a pistol that was my great-great-grandfather's during he was in the 4th Virginia Cavalry in the Civil War. When I picked up that pistol, we have the exact same hand, which is kind of cool. And that's what we want to create as this thing goes through generations of the family. It tells the story of the family. The number one used artifact by far of all, I mean, I'm telling you, we got some crazy cool stuff in there. But the number one used artifact is there's a stone that we have from the battlefield of David and Goliath. By far, that is the number one used artifact.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, and there's a lot of people that will, a lot of people put scripture on their knives, or, you know, God, faith, family. And yeah, it's one of the greatest things I've ever been involved with. And we're looking to get it going again here. I've already got the laser. Right now, Jimmy just got his permits. So he's doing a barn dominium in Colorado. He's been kind of living, his family's been living like he's basically made like a fob out there, like he was used to being in Afghanistan. But yeah, so now he can start his house. And then once he's done out there with that, he gets that part of his life done, then maybe I'm gonna step it up to get this going. And we're gonna do it down in Pungo. There's a place called Coastal Cattle. Unique thing about Coastal Cattle is that's one of my accountability brothers, Billy Garland. Our family's been friends for generations. But a year and a half ago, Billy went through something very rough. He lost his barn to a fire. In that barn were his tractors. His whole life was in that barn for his business as a farmer. So he's rebuilt. He's rebuilt now. I got the barn there. He's still continuing to rebuild. But the unique thing about when I was out there and talking to him one day, he's like, "Man, I want to do something with this to help people glorify God." So I told him about the mission force. He's like, "Let's do it." So imagine that, you know, maybe you served for this country, and Imagine like being able to reminisce over those times and looking out across this beautiful green grass at these beautiful Hereford cows out there walking around. How much peace that would bring. Unique thing about the building is though, so I'm also a safety guy for Virginia Paving. So we do asphalt work, concrete work, and so if you know a little bit about concrete, for concrete to spall by heat takes a lot of heat. So that fire got so hot that it spalled the concrete. Billy kept the existing slab that was there to build his new barn, so we could bring these dudes in here, and I was going through some stuff, and it's about resilience. I'm like, hey buddy, look where you're standing. Look at this ground that you're on. You tell me you can't rise from the ashes. Look where we are, and I think it's gonna be powerful. And maybe powerful and then we'll build up in the shop too with the flags and memorabilia and other stuff to set the tone. But it's going to be, I think it's going to be amazing. But we're also getting in the process. So Tammy she was a dispatcher with the police for many years, and she's got like a network around Richmond. So we're also looking to put together like a mobile unit to be able to go to different municipalities, to their fire departments, to do the builds there. We go to the Naval Academy. We've done it 3 years in a row now. How does a fisherman get to go share the story of Lost in the Stream at the U.S. Naval Academy with the Naval Special Warfare Group? I'm not worthy of that, but it's such an honor to be able to do that and talk to these bright minds and just share, about the resiliency of what it's like to fight for your life in the water.
We'll talk about that a little bit more. Go ahead.
Okay, so...
Lost in the Stream, the miraculous story of two fishermen lost at sea by Captain Johnny Savage. You want to give a quick one of part, so we're going to merge this episode into part 2. It's going to be all about this one.
Okay, so in 1998, I was en route from Key West to Cancun. It's just another crossing. 350 miles, we factor in roughly 370 or whatever, depending on what the Gulf Stream is, because we run into the Gulf Stream, again, straight shot from Cancun to Isla Mujeres, just going across that, by that western tip of Cuba. And we were 90 miles out, and basically look forward to see something like I've never seen before in my life. The Ninga was a 56-foot custom sport fish. It went off basically into a hole, and when it made the impact on the bottom, her bow deck peeled off. We never had time for EPIRB, which is an emergency positioning device. The batteries were dead immediately, so we couldn't issue a mayday call. And then it was in the water. Nobody knew where we were, 90 miles out. So it was a fight for survival. So 1997 was the strongest El Nino in recorded history, and there were effects that lingered over to the spring of 98, and while we're in the water, a storm came up, and it got pretty bad. Seas ended up being 8 foot, and so imagine you being in the Coast Guard, how we see a wave. We see it the top.
Yeah.
But the trough to the top of the wave, not the face of the wave, because the face of the wave looks so much bigger.
Yeah.
And it was just it's about the fight for survival out there. I did try to end my life by suicide, and God showed up. He had another plan for me, and now I'm using the story to help others. Guess what? We know of 8. I'm talking like they had made the decision they didn't want to live anymore. 8 people that the story had come into their life at that moment, and gave them the hope to keep living. So.
Oh, that's beautiful, man. That's great.
It's helping a lot of people. It's kind of unique that as a kid growing up, my next door neighbor was Lieutenant Commander of SEAL Team 2. And as a kid, I would go to the capabilities demonstrations and to all these different events because his son and I were best friends. And it's so unique to see how God's plan was to bring that full circle. Because I went through a long time of, again, it happened in 98, of struggles related to not dealing with what happened out there. And it wasn't until I got involved really with so much with the mission force and being around guys that had suffered, have definitely suffered stuff way worse than going for a long swim. And to realize that, I didn't deal with it properly. I lost my family. That's what caused me to cry out. And it was like, God, what do you want from me? And he said, it's time to tell my story. And I told God, like, I'm not into glorifying myself. He said, you aren't glorifying you, you're glorifying me. And then he started opening the doors. So yeah, it's and now I'm remarried. Kind of cool. I like to think of the story of Job, where he pretty much lost everything and then came back twofold. So a wonderful new family now. My wife is the one that really is if it weren't for her, that book probably wouldn't happen. But she's the one that set up the meeting for me to talk to somebody that had written a book. And you got to watch your self-talk, because I told myself I couldn't do it so many times, and part of it was I didn't want to do it because I didn't want to go there. And it's, hey, if it's and the mindset is, even with this podcast, if it only helps one person, it's worth it.
Yeah.
If that one person, listens to this and then listens to it when we do the one about the story, and they say, you know what, I'm not going to give up hope, it's worth it.
Yeah, it is, definitely. One life is.
I mean, it's the Coast Guard deals with it. I mean, the military is dealing with it all. I mean, suicide is a big problem. Actually, Bruno and I had lunch today, and that's one of the things that we talked about, is just the suicide situation in the military. And police force, I mean, those guys get it every day.
Yeah.
And
it's hard to turn it off and come home. Sometimes you can't turn it off. You come home with it. You bring it home with you,
And that's one of the unique things that and that's something so in the book too, it does talk about that some. And that's the thing, is those guys, so they're protectors, right? So not only they want to protect their family, so they feel like they can't share, because it's evil that they see. It's a supernatural evil out there that they're dealing with. I mean, not all of it supernaturally, but there is. And so they're dealing with that, and they come home to their families, and they don't want to tell their wives and their kids about the things they see on the street, because they want to protect them from the knowledge of what they went through. So all that stuff bottles up. So that's one of the unique things about the Mission Force. So there's a gentleman that's one of the volunteers that helps us out. He was with this. He just retired. He was up there pretty high in the state police, and he was at one of the events, and he told me, he goes, John, I've been through years of training for team building. There's more that happens in this build in 6 hours than all that training I took put together. And I don't know, I can't tell you what the magic of it is. I do know that Jimmy was in charge of selection at Damnet for a while, so I mean, maybe, I guess he's got this vision, and but we saw God move in that building. So,
well, let's end this episode here.
Okay.
So we can continue to part 2. All right. This was a cool episode. Hope you enjoyed being on my podcast. We do part 2 here soon. And everyone out there, please follow me. I'm on all Instagram I'm on Instagram, Facebook. I'm on all major platforms for you to follow me on, YouTube and all that stuff. Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and all that. And if you want to be a guest, please let me know. I'd love to have you on. And if you have time, where can they buy this Lost in the Stream?
So
Amazon?
The easiest way is Amazon. Also, they can go to the website, which is lostinthestreambook.com. Again, that's lostinthestreambook.com. And you can, I mean, I love it. So people will we've got pictures of that book and some, like, going through the Panama Canal, and
what?
All these, yeah. So people will take pictures of the book and send it to us. There are operators literally that are deployed right now that take that book with them, and so I don't want any of those pictures, because I don't want to. They got their thing that they're doing, but yeah. So it travels around a lot.
That's awesome.
It's pretty cool. We have fun with it.
That's great, man. Well, all right. Well, thank you for being a guest.
Thank you.
I can't wait to have you on again, and I'll talk to everybody next time.